Okay, let's dive right into this. If you've ever worked in network infrastructure, you've definitely seen them. The bright yellow cables and the aqua or orange ones. They're both fiber optic, right? But, and this is a big but, they are absolutely not interchangeable. So today, we're going to break down this great fiber divide, single mode versus multimode. And that's the big question, isn't it? For one job, you're told, hey, run the yellow single mode. The very next day, it's all about the aqua multimode. It seems like such a simple thing, but choosing between them can literally make or break a network's performance, its budget, and its future. So, what's the deal? Why two types? Well, it really just boils down to four key things. The size of the glass core on the inside, the way the light actually travels through it, how far that light can go, and, of course, the cost of the gear that lights it all up. We're going to hit every single one of these, but we have to start with the most basic rule of all, how light behaves inside that tiny little strand of glass. To really get the difference, we got to start right here with a little bit of physics. But don't worry, I promise we're keeping it simple. It all comes down to understanding just one key term. And that term is mode. Now, a mode is just a fancy word for a path. That's it, a single, unique pathway that a ray of light can take. The way the fiber is built on the inside, that dictates how many of these paths are even available. Some cables offer a whole bunch of paths, while others, they offer only one. And honestly, this one analogy just nails it. Think of multimode fiber as a big, multi-lane highway. You've got light rays that can switch lanes, bounce around, and travel in parallel. Single mode, though, that's a single-lane tunnel. There is one way in and one way out. That simple idea explains almost everything. So let's see how that plays out in the real world, starting with the highway. All right, let's meet our first contender, multi-mode fiber, or MMF, as you'll hear it called. This is your specialist. This is the sprinter, built for super high speeds but only over short distances. Think inside a single building or a data center. So, what's the secret sauce for multi-mode? It's a pretty large core, relatively speaking, usually 50 microns across. And to give you some perspective, that's about the width of a human hair. This bigger core is exactly what creates that multi-lane highway for all the light to travel down. Now, because MMF has that wider core, the popular types like OM3 and OM4, they can get away with using cheaper light sources, like simple LEDs or low-cost lasers called V-cells. But here's the catch. Having all those different light paths bouncing around creates a huge problem called modal dispersion. Imagine shouting into a giant cavern. All the echoes come back at slightly different times, right? It just blurs the original sound. That's exactly what happens to the light pulses. They get smeared out and distorted, which makes the signal totally unreadable over long distances. And that modal dispersion problem, well, that's what leads us to this hard limit. When you're running at 10 gigabit speeds, you're pretty much maxed out at about 550 meters. That's why MMF is a sprinter. It's incredibly fast, for sure, but it just doesn't have the stamina for a long race. So where does a sprinter shine? Well, in controlled indoor spaces. You'll see multimode absolutely everywhere. Inside data centers, connecting servers. In those comms closets on every floor. And for the short backbone links running between floors in a building. It is the undisputed king of the local network. Okay, so now that we've met the sprinter, let's talk about the marathon runner. Let's meet single mode fiber, or SMF. This is a totally different beast, built from the ground up for insane distance and incredible performance. And the difference here is just staggering. A single mode core is only 9 microns. That's less than a tenth the size of a multi-mode core. It is so incredibly small that it forces all the light down one single direct path. There are no other lanes. It's that single lane tunnel we were talking about. And by forcing that light down one tiny little path, single mode completely, 100% eliminates that modal dispersion that cripples multimode. Now, the modern standards like OS2 fiber, which is what's mostly installed these days, they do need a more precise and powerful light source, a true laser. But the payoff for that extra precision is, well, it's absolutely massive. And here it is. This is the payoff. We're not talking about meters anymore. We're talking about kilometers. A single run of SMF can go 10, 40, even over 100 kilometers without needing any help. It's just a completely different league. This is the fiber that literally builds the internet. It's what the big telecoms and carriers use to connect entire cities. It's what you run between buildings on a college campus. Anytime you need to move a massive amount of data over a serious distance, single mode is the only real choice. Okay, so we've got the tech specs down. We know the difference. But when you're out there on a job site planning a new install, which one do you actually choose? The decision is way more strategic than you might think. And this right here, this quote reveals the most important factor when you're in the field. Pulling that cable, trenching the ground, paying for the skilled technicians to do the work, that's where the real money goes. The actual cost of the cable itself is a pretty small part of the total project budget. And because of that, there's a really strong case to be made for just using single mode pretty much everywhere. Even on those shorter runs where you might think multi-mode is the no-brainer. I mean, the price difference between the cables themselves is almost nothing these days. A single mode install is future-proof. If you need more speed later, you just upgrade the electronics on each end. You don't have to redo the expensive cable run. Plus, it just aligns with what the rest of the internet is built on, so it's often the smarter long-term play. So let's put it all together. One final head-to-head comparison, just to make sure these concepts really stick. And here it is, side by side. You've got multi-mode, big core, distance measured in meters, uses cheaper light sources, and it's perfect for inside a building. Then you've got single mode, tiny core, distance in kilometers, needs a laser, and it's built to connect the entire world. When you see it like this, it's pretty clear, right? So if there's one thing you take away from all this, it's this. If your network lives and dies within the four walls of one building, multi-mode is your tool. But the second you need to connect to the outside world, or even just the next building over, single mode is the undisputed champion. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought. We are pushing more data than ever before, right? Even inside these massive data centers. As network speeds keep climbing to 400G and beyond, you have to wonder, will multi-mode's distance problem become a critical bottleneck? Or will some new technology let the sprinter keep up in a world that is demanding marathon-level performance from everything? It's a huge question that network architects are wrestling with every single day.